Happy Sunday! So, if you ever asked your sensei why the bow are tapered, there are probably no answers to 2 or 3 possibilities. I guess most of the sensei, they will value one possibility or don't even talk about at all because it's unclear. There's no tradition, there's no explanation for it anywhere. So people have been, how can I say, theorizing about it for quite some time. So even from among the Okinawan Bojutsu community, there come different explanations. For example, guys who use a straight bow, they once in the past they say, oh yeah, the tapered bow is a peasant bow, and there used to be pig shit on it, so they would rub it off on the fence, and then over time it got tapered. Can be, right? So this is an example of Okinawan explanation stories. It can be. There's no proof for it. It's probably, you know, just came from a bad mood, you know. And yeah, you cannot take this kind of explanation seriously. So, one explanation can be that once upon a time there was an attachment to it, and attachments, they were made like this, by tapering it, putting a similar formed piece of iron with a lens or whatever tip on it, and you would put 2 screws on it, and that's it. All over the world for more than 1,000 years. So that's the development of Kobudo to the theoretical maximum included. Can be. Even the Okinawans, they had a kind of fireworks which they would place like on the tapered wooden stuff like that. So there were the other part, it was fitting perfectly, it was placed on here, and it had 3 barrels. And long ago, this was actually a firearm. It was a weapon. So it was placed on the ground or on some kind of thing here, and then there was a firing hole, and you would fire it here, and it would go off. Boom! It just wasn't very precise. So the things, they were just flying somewhere, and you never knew where. So in later years, they used it to do fireworks, right? They were carrying it, and they would go ping, poof, ping, poof. These were used on a bow with the tapered stuff. We have drawings for it, and I published this in my Karate 1.0, drawings from it by Iha Fuyu, the father of Okinawan studies. No one in Okinawa ever heard of it, apparently, so I thought that was interesting for you to know. So, could be a weapon, so a bladed weapon, some kind of steel weapon here, and or like this kind of firearm. And of course you could argue, like after seeing Star Wars, you could argue, oh, maybe there were blades on both ends, so they used the tapered end for both ends, but also there is no proof for it. Can be is one of those can be stories. They're not helpful. Can be stories are, you know, I'm not interested, I don't have any clue, so I make up a story. Just leave me alone. That's this kind of argument that we have for a long time, right? You know, when it comes to explanations, right? So they're good techniques and everything, but most of the people, they just don't care most of the time. So there's another explanation, which is kind of simple, and it's from physics and from mechanics. And I guess you know it already. You figured it out already, of course. Oh, by the way, Japanese schools of Kobudo say, I have heard that the idea of the tapered bow were introduced to Okinawa by Inoue Motogatsu. Can be, we don't have proof of it neither, but nobody actually looked into the kind of bow yet, right? So, if you look at the old photo with Funakoshi at Shuri Castle with the group, they performed for the Imperial Prince in 1921, I guess. That's a straight bow. It's not a tapered bow, it's a straight bow. If you look at the earliest photos, it looks like straight bow. And so when did the tapered bow appear in Okinawa? Maybe a post-war invention? One more of those post-war inventions could be that it came from Inuit, the idea. So but nobody wants to talk about it because it's difficult. So they come up with stories, yeah, it's a carrying a bow from the 13th century, because everything has to be backdated as far as possible. And people take that, they eat that stuff. You know, someone throws an idea out there and then they take it and say, yeah, that's an explanation. It's not an explanation. It's just at best a hypothesis, not even a theory, because for a theory already, you need a little proof already, right? A little. Excuse me. So, this can all be, and then people will say, yeah, China, China, China. Everything comes right, you know, if there's no answer, people say China. Bingo! Just say China and it works. Yeah, China is always a good excuse for knowing nothing, having no idea, having no real tradition, and having no records whatsoever what has happened in the last 70 to 100 years. We just say China. That's what we do in Okinawan Karate and in Kobudo as well. So, no, it's we're not going to do that. Okay, we're not going to simply say like China. There's an old document from China. I saw it. We're not going to do it. Okay. So, the easy explanation, and here it is. Super easy, presented to you by Randy Dandy Andy, the one and only. Just kidding. Okay, that was a fun part of this presentation. So, if you have a bow that is sturdy enough for actual fighting, which doesn't break easily, which can take a beating, and which doesn't endanger yourself by easy contact and tip flying off right into your own face, you want to have a sturdy bow. And to have that, you need like 3 centimeters. At least 3 centimeters, right? And it has to be a certain kind of quality wood, which has a density, which is the fibers and all that, and with a certain mass. It has to weigh something. That's the point. Then, in order to use it, every gram that's more on it is going to make it 3 times heavier. Every gram that you use in static, it's a gram. In dynamics, it's much more. So you have to move it. Everything you have to move, every gram is counting double and 3 times and 4 times. So every gram you cut off here at the tip, right, towards the center, is going to help you in moving. It helps you to even be able to move it, right? So, and I made a small tablet, so I'm going to tell you. So here's the list. So I calculated now I'm lacking the English term, so I'm going to just say in German. So I took the Kegelstumpf, you guys can love it. I calculated the Kegelstumpf and I calculated the cylinder. I just took for this calculation just half of the bow, so I calculated it was 90 centimeters roundabout, and I came up with the 4 different kinds of wood for the what you spare when you taper it down from 3 centimeters to 2 centimeters at the end. You spare a weight. Here are the weights that you spare. In terms of balsa wood, because balsa wood doesn't weigh anything, it's just 0.049 kilograms. In terms of erle, I don't know the English name, it's already 200 grams. 200 grams that you spare. In terms of esche, it's 245 grams. Buche, 256 grams. Eiche, that's oak, 268 grams. You spare 268 grams. When you consider that a standard tournament bow in Okinawa has to be 900 grams. You spare 268 by cutting that off on the side. That's 268. That's almost a fourth of the whole weight of the bow, right? Now, if you're moving on to really like hardwood stuff, then you spare a lot because the density and the mass is much more. So Kokobodo, 340 grams. You spare 340 grams. That's the weight of one side. So you can consider it's a lot. And the faster you move it, because kinetic energy is half the mass times velocity times 2. So the faster you get, the more the mass is going to count. The less mass you have, the more you'll be able to move it. So you want to cut that off. Hickory, 250 grams spared by just tapering it down from 3 centimeter to 2 centimeter on towards both ends. 250 grams, that's a lot. Mama can bake a kuchen with it, you know, Schwarzwaldtorte or something, you know. Hickory, ironwood, 450, almost half a kilogram. If you take an ironwood bow and you taper it down from 3 centimeter in the middle to 2 centimeter at both ends, you're going to spare almost half a kilogram. You understand? You get a feeling for it when I'm done. I know some understood it already. I knew it from the start. Some people take a little longer. So that's it. You spare half a kilo by just scraping it off, by tapering it down a little bit, which allows you to move and do the technique and accelerate with the full force. Because every gram more you have to accelerate will cost you a lot of energy to accelerate it, and then at the end to decelerate it when you stop it, when you get the fui, when you get the fui dominant stop. So it has to go somewhere. If you stop the bow, it has to go somewhere. Why? Okay, and that's it. So what do you think? Tapered bow. Why was it done? How? What did it come from? Where did it come from? Was it a post-war invention? Okay, did it come from Japan? Who had this ingenious idea of cutting it off? Did someone really think about the mass, or was it just a feeling? So somehow I'm going to scrape it off a little bit so it's easier to handle, you know. Was it done to better poke, like a stiletto shoes with the ladies, like you have to more? Was that the reason? I don't know, but there are so many reasons, and why not talk about it? So there are 4 or 5 different theories or hypotheses. Let me know what you think. Okay, bye guys, happy Sunday.